And good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday morning to you, and welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. Hey, by the way, have you noticed that I have reached the 7,000 mark of subscribers to my channel? Now, I wish that was 70,000. I wish it was 700,000. But it is what it is. But we continue to slowly grow, and that a whole lot is up to you, the viewers, to share with your friends, share with your neighbors, uh, share with your fellow churchgoers. I've been hearing from more and more people. Well, I was talking to someone at church, and they said, "Boy, have you watched this guy?" And by the way, it's so exciting. Three times lately, three times I have been somewhere, not even in my city of Ardmore, Oklahoma. Uh, Pardon me, but I've been somewhere, and I would be either standing in line. One time it was local. I was standing in line at the local O'Reilly's buying a car part, and I was talking to the guy behind the counter, and there was another guy standing over here, and I noticed he kept looking at me. Didn't know why, and directly he goes, "I know you." I go, "Okay." I didn't know why he knew me. He goes, "What's your name?" I said, "Don Preston." He goes, "Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Morning Musings. Yeah, I know you." I didn't know him. Pardon me. I didn't know him from anyone. But I thought that was really, really cool. And that, again, that's happened twice. One time I was even out of state, and it happened to me. Someone said, "I know you. You're the guy on YouTube every morning." Well, yeah, that's me. uh, so it's really, really wonderful to realize that more and more people are tuning in, more and more people are watching, and not only are they watching, but they truly are tuning in, if you know what I mean. That's exciting. I told someone just the other day, a fellow had called me up. He was in town, wanted to buy some books, and he was asking about the YouTube channel. He watches all the time, and I told him, I said, I never thought in all of my imaginations as a young minister, I never thought I'd have a congregation of 7,000 people. And that's up to you, ladies and gentlemen. And I appreciate that so very much. Okay, I want to read to you. And by the way, I just grabbed a translation. It's a New English Bible, as you can see. I just grabbed it off the shelf this morning as I came into my studio. And I want to read to you a section of Matthew chapter 24 that we spent time on. This is by way of review now of what we have discussed, because this is so important. After the apostles have asked Jesus about the timing of the destruction of Jerusalem and the signs of his parousia and the end of the age. And remember, yesterday I shared with you how the apostles had every reason in the world to link the coming of the Lord, the judgment on the city and the temple together, okay, with his coming, with the end of the age. Folks, the apostles were not nearly as ignorant as modern day commentaries want to make them out to be. As I have suggested many times before, it's not the apostles that were confused. Now, Kenneth Gentry likes to make a huge argument that, we have at least 7 different occasions in which the apostles were confused. And my response to that is, so what? My response to that is, guess what? Not one of those occasions is about eschatology. Not one of them is about the end of the age. And yet, here is Kenneth Gentry extrapolating and saying, you know what? The apostles were confused when Jesus predicted his resurrection in Matthew 16. Therefore, they must have been confused when Jesus talked about his coming in the end of the age. Who said so? Okay, let me read this section to you. So they've asked about the time and the sign. Jesus replied, "Take heed that no one misleads you, for many will come claiming my name, saying, 'I am the Messiah.' Many will be misled by them. The time is coming in which you will hear the noise of battle near at hand and the news of battles far away. See that you are not alarmed. Such things are bound to happen, but the end is still to come. For nation will make war upon nation, kingdom upon kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in many places. With all these things, the birth pangs of the new age begin." Now, folks, this is absolutely incredible. Number one, Jesus warned his apostles about being deceived. Now, Luke chapter 21 and verse 8 adds something to that. "Many will come in my name saying, 'I am he,' and the end has drawn near. Do not go after them." Jesus condemned making premature declarations of the nearness of the end. Notice, the end is not yet. Now, folks, contextually, the only end that the apostles have asked about is the end of the age. And Jesus said to his living, breathing apostles, men are going to come saying, "I am Messiah." In other words, I'm here. He's come. He's come as a 5'5" Jewish man. Do not go after them. Wouldn't that suggest, ladies and gentlemen, that Jesus was sort of kind of debunking the idea that he was going to come back as a 5'5" Jewish man? I mean, after all, if a living, breathing 5'5" Jewish man could walk up to you and say, I'm the Messiah," and that would be after he had left, then wouldn't that be saying that he had come back as a 5'5" Jewish man? If not, why not? And yet Jesus said, no, don't believe them. There are all these things that have to happen before the end of the age, before his parousia. So they were warned, do not believe and do not make premature declarations of the end. Now, tomorrow I'm going to develop that even further, but I just want to leave that here with you. Now, notice that Jesus said, the time is coming when you're going to hear the noise of battle near at hand, and the news of battles far away. See that you're not alarmed. Such things are bound to happen. The end is still to come. Now, I have to take note of an argument offered by Sam Frost and William Vincent and their acolytes. Here's what they tell us about this. They tell us, well, you're going to hear of wars and rumors of wars, some near at hand, some far off. That's the destruction of Jerusalem, we are told. That's the invasion of Judea, we are told. But it's not the end that the apostles asked about. Now, look, folks, you have to see what's going on here. You have to see the subtle presuppositions, or you have to see the major presuppositions that are being subtly injected into the text. And this brings up more of the vacillations of Sam Frost. In 2019, I asked Sam Frost, what age were the apostles linking with the fall of Jerusalem that Jesus just predicted? And he said, this is in 2019, the apostles were not thinking about the end of any age. That's right. Sam Frost said the apostles were not thinking about the end of any age. When they asked, what shall be the sign of your coming in the end of the age? So they didn't have the end of the age on their minds. So when I pointed out Sam's completely fallacious argument, he later changed and he said, oh yeah, it was perfectly natural for the apostles to think about the end of the age when Jesus predicted the destruction of Jerusalem. So Sam Frost went from saying the apostles were not thinking about the end of any age when Jesus predicted the destruction of Jerusalem to saying, oh, perfectly natural. But here's the point. Sam Frost, William Vincent, most commentators take for granted, this goes back to what we saw in our first three videos, ladies and gentlemen. They take for granted that the end, when Jesus said the end is not yet, that's the end of time. There is no such concept in the Bible. The apostles were not thinking about the end of time. And Jesus assuredly was not saying, oh, you're going to see or you're going to hear about the fall of Jerusalem, but the fall of Jerusalem just simply indicates that the end is not yet. See what he's doing? Dividing between fall of Jerusalem, wars and rumors of wars, and the end of the age, assuming without a scintilla of proof that the end in Jesus's mind, the end in Jesus's answer was the end of time, the end of the Christian age. Let me ask you one more time. What age did that temple represent? Where did the apostles get the idea of an end of the Christian age? And what was it about the fall of Jerusalem that triggered that association, that supposed association between the end of time and the temple? You see, futurists never show us that linkage. They just claim the linkage and say, well, yeah, Jesus was warning them and telling them, you're going to hear wars and rumors of wars, but that doesn't mean the end of time is at hand. End of time is not there, folks. So notice, and I've got to hurry here, notice the end is still to come. For nation will make war. I want you to pay particular attention here. For nation will make war upon nation, kingdom upon kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in many places. With all these things, notice, the birth pangs of the new age begin. What Jesus is bringing up here, and it's from the Greek word odinoi, birth pangs. It is a word that is commonly used of childbirth, or the pain, the travail leading up to the birth. There was, in the Jewish narrative, is found in Romans 8 as well, the idea that before the end of the age, before the resurrection, before the kingdom, there was going to be a time of horrible distress that we today would call the Great Tribulation. Just as Jesus was tapping into that narrative. Jesus was expressing that narrative. By the way, the Jews understood that was the end of the age of Moses and the law, to bring in the age of Messiah and the new covenant. That was the Jewish narrative. But futurists turn that around and they say, oh, it's the end of the Christian age to bring in what is not an age. It's eternity. So there's total manipulation, total distortion of the proper understanding of the ages. This age and the age to come lies at the root of the misunderstanding here. So notice now, Jesus said these wars and rumors of wars, these famines, pestilence, earthquakes that he'll go ahead to mention, They are the beginning of the birth pangs of the age to come. Well, once again, Sam Frost plays a lot of word games here. He actually says, he's on record as saying, that the tribulation began at creation. Because after all, there was tribulation in the days of Noah. There was tribulation in the days of the fall of Jerusalem in 586 BC. So he finds the word tribulation used in the Old Testament prior to the New Testament and says, see, tribulation is the foundation of the world. That's not the point. Jesus did not say the great tribulation began at creation. He said that the wars, the rumors of wars, were the beginning of the birth pangs. Jesus didn't say the birth pangs began at creation. Now listen, men like Greg Beale, Craig Blomberg, these men say, oh, the Great Tribulation is the entire span of the Christian age. That's not in the text. Look, folks, Jesus said that his apostles, those living, breathing apostles, were the ones who were going to hear the rumors of the wars and rumors of the wars. They were going to see around them in their world, in their generation, pestilence, famine, earthquakes. That was for their generation. And those events in their generation were the beginning of the birth pangs. Now, look, folks, if we have been experiencing all of those things, all right, that means the birth pangs began in the first century, and the birth pangs have been going on for 2,000 years. Wow. That's the longest birth process in the history of mankind. 2,000 years of birth pains. No, doesn't work. Jesus said they are the beginning of the birth pangs. And once again, Sam Frost denies that this is a reference to the birth pangs. He ignores the Jewish narrative. He ignores Romans chapter 8. He ignores the idea, the fact, the doctrine that just before the end. Listen, folks, in the Jewish narrative, the Jews had no concept whatsoever of the birth pangs of Messiah lasting for hundreds of years, and certainly not thousands of years. They understood it was to be in the last days, a single generation. So what we're seeing here in our summary is how futurists take the text, inject into it their presuppositions about, number one, the end of time, number two, about the birth pangs of Messiah, number three, about the Great Tribulation, and they extrapolate that out for 2,000 years. Doesn't work. Now, like I said, tomorrow I'm going to share with you Luke chapter 21 and verse 8 to show you that all of these things have to be taken in a first century fulfillment context. You do not want to miss that. Hey, go to my website, order this 2-book special for the month of August. Save yourself $12. Only 3 days left now, okay? I'll see you on the flip side.